thank you, worship team. Now we're going to have a little bit of more sharing. This is David Tan, and he's currently a staff worker at AIB, and he's taking grad school at U of M. So if everyone could give a hand for my man, David Tan.
Right. You know that rhymes, huh? My man, David Tan. Cool. I'm a clumsy person. Hold on one second. So, have you ever walked into a smelly room and gotten a whiff of was like, oh, this is disgusting. Like, oh, what was that? Then after a while, you cease to notice it because after a while, you leave and you go, oh my gosh, it smells so much better outside. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that thought in mind. I'll get to it later. My name is David Tan, and I'm currently pursuing a master's degree at the University of Michigan. I'm also a recent graduate from The Ohio State University. And I'm here to tell you my story. The story of God's sovereignty. The sovereignty of God is the biblical teaching that all things are under God's rule and control, and nothing happens without His direction or permission. And thus, my story will show you how God has been in control of my life. So, my entire life, I knew I had wanted to become a lawyer. Maybe it was the John Grisham books that enthralled me to pursue this profession with a passion. But upon entering college, I had one central idea in my mind. I was going to do what it took to go to law school. I graduated with triple majoring in political science, international studies, and Chinese. I interned as a page for the state senate, political campaigns, as well as interning in the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Homeland Security, all for the purposes of going to law school. You see, I wanted to go to law school. Yet God had different plans for me. But again, I really, really, really wanted to go to law school. You see, I was a not so typical Asian with all the Asian wants. I loved the approval of others. I love the twang of the idea of law school. I love the affirmation I received at dinner conversations with Asian parents. They go, so what do you want to do after college, David? I go, law school. Oh, sorry, law school. And they go, oh, very nice. Well done, David. Suffice to say, everything I had worked for in college has been centered around going to law school, as if I didn't say that enough. This is not to say I didn't have my doubts about the profession, but I really wanted to go, and I was so sure that this was the way that God had for me. Senior year came around, and I was busy applying to law schools. Do I have to use this? Can you guys just hear me like this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I like this better. So senior year came around, and I was busy applying to law schools, and I met up with this Teach for America recruiter on a whim. So for those of you who don't know, Teach for America is a non-governmental organization that's created for the purposes of placing recent college grads in inner city and rural areas for 2 years before they move on to other careers or maybe entice them into teaching. The recruiter enticed me into the idea of helping struggling kids in inner city urban environments. Enthralled, I applied, and I even got through to the final interview, which was in January. At this point, I was strongly considering it. I decided to forego applying to law school, which, the deadlines rolled by in December. January came around, and I actually was not accepted, and I was crushed. Strangely, though, I still wanted to teach. I could envision it. It was something that sounded really attractive and fulfilling, except for the income part. I immediately called up my close friend who was a teacher in Michigan, not at Michigan, discussed the possible solutions. There was City Year, there were many other Teach for America-like organizations, but they were all looking for science and math majors, which I was not, for sure. I talked to Ohio State and inquired about the master's program, and then they essentially said it's not possible to grant the classes that I've had. You see, to become a state-certified teacher, you have to take specific classes. For example, Poli-Sci 101, it's American government. If I took all the other classes in the political science department and I didn't take that one, I'd have to go back and take that class. So you have to take specific classes. So according to Ohio State, I did not have the right courses. In addition, they told me it was impossible to apply because the deadline passed. My friend suggested that I apply to Michigan, a thought that I was really opposed to at the time. I mean, seriously, would any of you guys consider applying to Ohio State for grad school? Because you should. I was like, okay, whatever. I'll see what they can do. To look at my courses, maybe I'll go next year. so I sent the email in. Taking a step back, law school, the centerpiece of where I placed my hopes and dreams for direction in my life. I saw myself loving the feeling of pride that I got when people heard triple major or law school. At one end, I knew what I wanted: a successful life, high-paying job, raise a family, wanting to provide every single game for their Xbox 1280 or game Hexagon 480 back in the future. At the same time, over here, I had the experiences taking risks in my life and my faith, and following what God wanted me to do. For example, choosing to plan the Asian American chapter of InterVarsity instead of staying with all the friends I had made over freshman year, or choosing a month-long leadership training retreat over the summer, over an internship with AmeriCorps, and many other things in my life. It made sense in my mind, at least, that if Jesus, was fully innocent, did not contribute to the damage of the world, died for me, then taking the risk, talking to people, or not taking an internship, it's not a huge deal. But whoa, buddy, career, that's a huge deal. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Career. This situation I was in was quite nerve-wracking and persisted for a few weeks. This all culminated into one night where I could not sleep, and I hate not being able to sleep. I sat there in my room praying to God. This was amidst a breakdown of career plans, ministry plans, friendships that had failed, complicated relationships with my girlfriend at the time, and just many things. And I was wrestling with my wants and desires. I love having control over my life. Yet it was clear I wasn't doing the best job of it. I thought back to how it was when I was following what God wanted me to do. It was kind of scary, it was kind of fun, but it was ridiculously fulfilling. Following Jesus does not always mean having to choose the harder and less attractive option, but in this case, it was definitely to go with the teaching. So that night, I told God that following him and taking risks for him honestly been the best times of my life, where I grew in ways I never thought I would and gained so many experiences. Thus that night, I made the decision to give God control of my life in the area of career. At first, nothing felt different. I was able to fall asleep, which was great, and when I woke up in the morning, I felt an inner sense of freedom and peace. God was sovereign. And let me explain a little bit about that. The very next day, I got an email from Michigan telling me that I could apply. I remind you that the deadline was in December, and the program starts in June. I sent them my stuff in March. I got a call telling them saying that I'm approved. And they asked if I wanted to apply at the point. And they assured me that, if you want to defer, you can defer, which is not very common for grad school. The catch was that I had to take the GRE in 3 weeks. And after I studied, I took the GRE because I was studying for LSAT for 2 years. I applied 2 weeks later. During the waiting time, something came up in the process, yet they didn't tell me until I heard back about my admission status. I was missing a state government course. And this was crucial because I needed to get certified on this course. They saw my state government course, they saw my state government internship, and they saw that it could count for a state government class. And so, what I had thought was originally for the purposes of law school, God had intended this towards education. Yet, had I not taken the risk to enter into education, given the route of law school, I would have never known that I could have entered the #4 program in the nation for my field. It seems so impossible to enter the field with rejections left and right. And so suffice to say, I got in. I'm here today. Throughout the process, God has given me a love and a passion for impacting students. God's will for me is greater than what I could have understood at the time. God had a plan and was with me the entire time, regardless of whether I understood or could see it. And this experience embodied Emmanuel. God is with us. This showed me how God was sovereign, has all things under his control. So this past Thanksgiving, when I met up with a few Asian parents, they asked me, "What are you doing nowadays, David?" I go, "I'm in a master's program." And they're like, "Oh, very nice, well done." And then then they go, "In what?" And I go, "Education." And they go, "Oh. Well, at least you're in a master's program." And I'm okay with that, because this is the direction that I've been called to. Later tonight, you will have a chance to take a risk and make a decision to find out what this sovereign God is all about. I was trying to maintain control of my life, basing my career and life goals on my wants such as pride and financial security, which were valued higher than God's wants. However, God had a plan greater than I could fathom. So many of us may be asking the question, why should I give up control of my life to something else? And I have an answer. Think back to that smelly room in the very beginning. You get used to that smell quite fast, regardless of how bad the stench. Just like walking around with our backpacks in school, we forget that we have them on while we're walking, and when we take them off, we're like, wow, I can jump 6 feet more. We get used to the burden of having control of our lives, and it doesn't make sense when someone on the outside says, "Dude, The room you're in stinks. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to you, and you can't really see it. I know it's a leap of faith, but regardless of your spiritual background, I challenge all of you to think about this tonight. So I leave you with a question. In what ways are you trying to maintain control of your life, basing your life and career goals in your own wants, such as private security?